What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're taking a look at another film review. I watched a film last night called Year One. It does star Jack Black and quite a few other actors from the early 2000s era, and I am a little bit bored of horror movies, so I wanted to watch a little bit of a comedy and a little bit of a funny movie, have a little bit of a laugh, a little bit of a chuckle. So I did decide to put on a more of a relaxed movie, more of a comedic movie that I found in the Netflix library. It did say it was a comedy movie, however, I didn't particularly laugh all too much throughout this movie. I'm gonna be very honest with you here, Chief. This movie is quite dated, compared to 2025. So, you know, Year One is a movie where they take Jack Black and a couple of his other co-stars and throw him into stories of the Bible, and I use that very loosely. I think there's references to the Bible, but I don't think it's 100%. Again, it's been a while since I even saw a Bible, so without any further delay, let's take a look at what Google has to say. So Year One came out in 2009. That was the year my brother was born. It's a comedy adventure which is 1 hour and 37 minutes. It has a 4.9 out of 10 on IMDb and a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. It can be watched on Netflix and on Amazon Prime, and Zed and O, two hunter-gatherers, go on a journey after they are banished from their tribe. As they discover what the world has to offer, they encounter interesting characters and get into trouble. So, basically, how the story opens is with Jack Black failing at being a hunter and talking to his friend O, who is a pretty shitty gatherer, and his sort of love interest doesn't want to talk to him. So, he eats the forbidden fruit, which gives him knowledge, which it doesn't actually. They get attacked by a snake, and they get banished from the village for eating the forbidden fruit. And before they leave, they accidentally set fire to the whole village. They get attacked by a cougar. They end up meeting a farmer by going over the mountains, and then one of the farmers kills his brother with a rock. And then they run away from that village, and they end up going to, I don't fucking know, a village, and they see their tribe being turned into slaves, so they try and save them, and then they get turned into slaves. They manage to break free, and then they find another village who wants to chop off the tip of the dick. Then they go to the main city, where they're all being held as slaves, and they manage to join the army. Some fucking how they join the army, and when they do join the army, they then befriend the princess, find the slaves, get into a little bit of bother by showing their love interests some weird shit that they had to do to get there, and they both end up in this spiritual room. They have a little bit of an argument, they get turned into slaves, and they're about to sacrifice their love interests, so they cause a lot of chaos, cause a fight, cause a riot, and they say their love interests, kill the emperor, kill the priest, and then, you know, it starts raining, and then they go their separate ways, with O going back to where the village originally was to be chief, and then Zed going to travel and explore the world. And that's really where the movie ends, and I'm gonna be honest, it's just a load of random shit. Like, it jumps from one location to another extremely fucking quickly. Like, we have them changing outfit without any explanation. We have them dressing for the appropriate time. It's just these two characters thrown into different situations. And there is a lot of talk about dicks throughout this entire fucking thing. And I don't really give a shit, I'm gonna be honest. Normally, I would have laughed at that, but it just wasn't funny. Like, the way they did it wasn't funny, and didn't really get me. I laughed the first couple of times they mentioned it, where it was like, oh, you want to chop off the tip of my dick, fair enough. But then they kept recycling it, and reusing it, and re-saying it, and it just felt stale. The jokes that they use throughout the entire thing get reused. With one guy kills his brother, and that's his entire fucking trope. Everybody's scared of him, and they keep avoiding him and sort of saying, please don't kill me. Yeah, no one's dead, there's no body and shit like that. They just keep reusing the same sort of like voice lines when they're interacting with the same characters. And I say voice lines because they don't actually fucking say a lot to each other in this movie that is of anything of interest. Most of it is just jokes and done for laughs, and it is odd. We have Jack Black dancing and just being Jack Black, which is pretty entertaining to watch, but I don't know. This just doesn't feel like a movie he would be in. This movie also has a lot of famous actors and actresses in, which I genuinely wasn't expecting to see in this movie because it isn't the greatest movie, and I haven't seen anybody talk about this movie like ever, so you can't understand like how shit this one is and how much of a non-impact that it made. I was genuinely shocked to see half the actors and actresses in this movie. When they popped up on screen, I'm like, holy shit, I know you. Why the fuck are you here? Why are you in this movie? And the Bible stories that they play off, I do believe is Adam and Eve, obviously with the forbidden fruit, which he ends up eating. I do believe it's the one where he sacrifices his son, because that one was made blatantly obvious. I don't remember that story too familiar. And then there's like a couple of others which I missed the entire fucking plot of, and they just have a lot of sexual jokes for like no reason. I did cringe when he was rubbing that guy's chest. He was covered in hair and he's rubbing oil on it, and I cringed at that because I knew that'd be fucking gross and disgusting. I cringed so hard when I saw that. Not out of cringe for the episode or like the scene, but cringe because I just don't want to do that myself. That would have been grim. There is some good casting here, like the O's actor, I don't remember his name, but he plays Scott Pilgrim, and he also plays someone in Superman, and his character, and the way he acts, and the way he sort of holds himself and presents himself, is genuinely perfect for the weird, outcast, quiet kid, and he plays those roles extremely well in Superman, in Scott Pilgrim, and also in this one. I don't know why, it's just the vibe that he gives off is very sort of weird, anxiety-ridden, sort of social outcast style, and it works for his character, and I think he does an amazing job. I don't get what Jack Black is trying to do. All I see is Jack Black in this movie, just being Jack Black, having a good time, not really trying to do anything. They kind of just shove conflict in your face as well. They don't really explore it or talk about it. It's just like, here, conflict. Because it's just the characters arguing, and like the O follows Zed throughout this entire movie, but they keep shouting at each other for every inconvenience they get themselves into and saying it's Zed's fault, and Zed's like, don't worry, I'll get you out of this. And it's very repetitive and very slow. It keeps repeating the same thing. They'll move town, get into trouble, they'll argue, they'll continue being friends and move on. Get into trouble, continue being friends, move on. Get into trouble, argue, continue being friends. And it's a loop, and it's a quite boring loop as well. And I was so confused because they're moving through time very quickly. They go from cavemen to Romans like that, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense timeline-wise in history. And I know it's not supposed to make sense timeline-wise. These fuckers move way too quickly and fucking jump fucking place really fucking quick, and they survive like cougar attacks and shit. So it's not supposed to be realistic, it's just supposed to be funny, but it even fails at that. Like, one of the jokes was he pissed on himself, and he kept bringing it up, and that's weird. You pissed in your own hair, and you keep talking about it. Surely, if that's a thing that you do, you keep your mouth shut and you don't fucking tell anybody. That's, if I was in his situation, and unfortunately, if that did happen, I wouldn't tell another soul. I would not tell another fucking soul. No one would know. No one would have to know. That is not something that you go around spreading with the world. That's not an exciting, attractive trope or an approach to something, saying that you pissed on yourself. That's weird. And again, I don't feel like the characters had any chemistry. I feel like and the other one did. They started to have a little bit of character chemistry towards the middle of the movie, where they had none at the start, but towards the middle of the movie, they started to get together, they started to like each other a little bit, and you could see a little bit of sort of love going on, and how Ema actually liked O, but Zed and his character didn't really have any chemistry with his love interest. I'm going to be honest. There was no real chemistry there. There was no real interaction there. Like, she could make him laugh, and that was it. That's all he really had going for him. She much preferred the other guy at the start of the movie, and then, for whatever reason, she just switched up and changed her mind towards the end, and I don't get why she did that, so if someone could explain that to me in the comments below, that'd be greatly appreciated. But honestly, it's not a movie that I'd recommend. It's not a movie that I'd watch again. And personally, I would give it a 4 out of 10. It's not my favorite that I've watched recently, and it is kind of lackluster, and I was expecting good things with it being a Jack Black movie. So I went into this with a little bit of some expectations, and it all just came crashing down by the end of the movie. So if there is any other movies that you do want me to review, talk about, and watch, please do let me know down in the comments below, and I'll get on it as quickly as possible. I do also review TV shows and animes, so if it's a movie thing, it's not your cup of tea, let me know something else in the comments.